Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and tonight I'm joined by
A-Bomb, Steve,
Chantal.
And we've just finished playing Terra Mystica. Now, this is a bit of a brain burner. This is definitely a heavy Euro. So the rather thin theme on this one is that you're trying to... Each person gets a faction, so in this case, I was yellow, and you are trying to expand and build buildings around this map. But as the nomads, I like to live on the desert, so I can only build, you can notice all the yellow buildings are on yellow spaces. So what happens if a space is not yellow? Well, you can terraform it. And you terraform it by digging, effectively, which I'll come back to in just a moment. In order to understand all this, because there's quite a lot to it, just be aware there are three types of resources. There are white cubes, which are workers. There's money, and then there's this purple stuff is power. So you're getting these resources in various ways and then spending it. Each time you build a building on here, this little house will have come off one of these spaces, and when you build it, it reveals, you see the hand with the cube there, everything that's got a hand under it gives you income at the start of the round. So the more houses you build, the more workers you get. The more of these little churches you build, the more money and power you get. So you're trying to build the buildings to get the income to build more stuff. But yes, if you want to change one of these and you want to terraform it, you have to spend spades. So at the start of the game it costs 3 workers for each spade, but you can kind of upgrade this to make the cost of spades cheaper. And then if I wanted to change, for example, this mountain terrain into the one I want to build on, it would cost me 2 spades. You take the shortest route round, spend the workers that you need, and then you get to stick one of these things on here, which will make it viable for you to build on. So that's kind of what you're trying to do, you're expanding. There's a few other important things I should mention though. You are trying, one of the ways you want to expand is by making sure you're next to people. This is very important for 2 reasons. Firstly, the cost to build these little church things is cheaper if you're next to people. It's only 3 coins rather than 6 if you're not. But also, every time somebody builds or upgrades something that's next to you, you get power. And now the power, I'm not going to explain it in detail because it's a bit complicated, but essentially these things move around in these bowls, they kind of upgrade into here, and then they can upgrade into here, and then you spend it from the top bowl and it goes back down. So it kind of whizzes around as you gain it and spend it. Managing this is quite important to the game. So you're doing all that, but how do you actually get points? How do you win the game? As we go through the game, each round has one of these tiles visible and sort of gives you an indication of how to get points. So in this round, for building certain buildings, you get points. For building little houses, you're getting points in that round. So for different rounds, you're getting points for building different things. There are also these sort of temple or cult tracks here. You can get priests. When you build this particular building, you get priests at the start of every round, and when you stick them in here, you go up on the different tracks. At the end of the game, you're getting lots of points depending on your position on the track. So the first player on each of these different tracks gets 8 points, and then second player's 4, etc. And then the final main way you're getting points is for getting connected areas. So you're trying to have a whole connected area around here. And whoever has the largest connected area gets 18 points, and the second most is getting 12 points, etc. So that's another big way of getting points at the end. Just finally, I'll mention, no one can obviously build on the rivers, but you do need to be able to cross the rivers. You can upgrade this sort of shipping track here, and that's how you're able to then build by sort of shipping your way across these different spaces. Now there is a lot more to it that I haven't explained, and how all the different bits work together is really the interest in the game, I think. All right, what do we think?
This is a very heavy Euro. Very heavy. One of the good points is you've got different factions and they all have different powers and they sort of play differently. So you can really get a lot of replayability out of the game. Downside, there's so many options. If you suffer from AP or play with people who suffer from AP, it can really bog down. Even if you don't suffer from AP, I generally don't, still it's a brain burner. You can really have your mind like just whizzing around thinking, do I do this, do I do that, do I do the other? I think my last point, which is both a good and a bad, it's sort of a halfway house. There's a lot of depth to the game. You definitely really improve as you play more. Now that's great, which means if you're a seasoned gamer, you could play this 20 times and still be finding new ways of doing things and new abilities, new ways of combining stuff. The downside is if you've got 2 or 3 players who are very good, you've played a few times, and someone new comes in, such a disadvantage because you just need to learn so much, and not just 1 game or 2, but 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I agree with Abe on there. I think the first time you played, first time I played, I came dead last. The first time you played, you probably came last as well, or close to it. But it didn't stop us all wanting to play again. I think it's brilliant. I think these give you the kind of the points scoring for each round give you a goal. So it's not, if I pick the Chaos Magicians, there's like 10 or 12 different races, 12 different races in the base game. If I pick the Chaos Magicians, I'm not playing the same game because the targets you have each round change, and kind of hitting those targets and getting points for building on that round, rather than if you build the same thing the round after you get nothing for it, are kind of what separates kind of a good score from a great score. I think it's so great. I think although it feels like you've got lots of options, the fact that once you've built something and built on somewhere, someone can't stop you, so you can plan a few turns ahead. The only kind of thing you might need to cater for is building somewhere where you think someone else is going to get there first. But after that, you can kind of, I had one turn where all I was doing was upgrading, so I could just plan what I needed to upgrade each thing, and that particular turn for me was quite light. I think it's brilliant. I think there's so much variability in playability, and very rarely do I play this as someone who actually doesn't like the game. So I think it's a really good go for if you like heavy Euros.
Okay, Chantal?
This was the very first time I played that game, and I was given the halflings trial, and I think this is a very good one to start with. And because like the other players had a very technical or more demanding tribe, it was, I think, interesting still for me, and it was interesting for them. So I quite like the balance of powers, because it means that a complete beginner can still have a lot of fun playing that. I really love the design as well. I think it's very clear, like the board is very easy to read. The only thing maybe that would be a downside for me is that the theme could be stronger.
Yes. Rating out of 10?
Solid 8.
Okay, Steve?
Theme doesn't bother me at all, and I like the fact that even if you do badly in the game, you still feel like you've actually built something up. I think this is an easy 9. It's great. I play it every day.
Okay, Abel?
Shockingly enough, just because there's a lot of brain-burning element to it, and you can sometimes it's hard work. It's like you're doing something. I'm actually only going to give it a 7.5, but it is a good game.
Okay. I love it for many of the reasons that they've talked about, really, and I never tend to do that well, but I still, every time I want to come back, as Abon was talking about, it's one of those games, the more you play it, the better you get. So I've just played this game, and I'm thinking, right, the next time I play, if I get this faction again, I know how to play them. I know what I should do to sort of maximise their potential, if you like, for this one. So I'm thoroughly engaged all the way through this, and like Steve, I would be on a solid 9 out of 10. Absolutely love it. All right, thanks for watching. That was Terra Mystica.